The wasp threw through the night air. It was a big insect, larger than most. Its body was a dull black. It was very hard to see at night. It landed on the windowsill, and its body assumed the color of the stone it was sitting on, and now it was even harder to see. It looked through the metal grating, scanning the room in front of it. It saw the person lying on their bed asleep. It saw the heat. It looked for the places where the blood flowed. It saw the blood pumping through the veins and the arteries, right through the skin. It crawled onto the grate, brought up its stinger and pointed it through the grill. It aimed some more. It scanned some more. Then there was a barely perceptible little and the wasp fired from its stinger at the very tip. The human lying on the bed never even noticed it. It was so small, so sharp, so quick. But their even, slow breathing began to go ragged. By the time their rough breath woke them, it was too late. They could not call out. They could not speak. And then there was just one ragged gasp left. And then they were still. So I have just described the assassin wasp, a wasp designed to kill. Now you can use this in either a high fantasy setting or in a science fiction or even space opera setting, depending how you want to do this. So the wasp has some basic ideas. The big wasp. There's a giant wasp. I can't remember what it is. It's Japanese or the Asian giant wasp. They're like this big. They're good sized wasp. And this wasp is a little bit larger than that, probably about 40 or 50% bigger than that. So well without beyond what would be naturally possible, but still conceivable as a wasp if it was engineered properly. Say in science fiction, it's got, it's a better ratio turtle skeleton, yada, yada, yada. And it's fantasy, it can be anything you want it to be. It is completely organic, so that's not going to trip off sensors as being a machine, or it's not going to radiate magic in and of itself if it's a magic high fantasy setting. It has the ability to look for a target and to be able to target these areas where there are least likely to be armor, say like the blood flowing in the neck, so that it can try to get through the thin skin into the bloodstream itself. It is capable of landing and stinging, but the advantage of having it be able to fire a dart is that there is going to be less evidence of its presence and less likely to set up some sensor, motion sensor or something that it cannot compensate for. Now you can have this be a fire and forget as it dies afterwards, or it is capable, like a real wasp, of stinging or producing a poison more than once. As opposed to a bee who really has a fire and forget. Once they sting something, their entire stinging system is ripped from their body and left on their victim to continue pumping in the poison. Now you could do that if you want to be more overt. This is trying to create a situation where the people will not initially understand why the victim is dead. They're just dead. Now, if you want to do nanotechnology in a science fiction setting, you can also do that it's actually injecting a very small nanotechnology dot. So it's not actually piercing the skin. It's landing a nodule on the skin somewhere on the body, which is then going to seep through the pores of the skin and begin to reproduce itself and then go target the person in some way. Now, of course, in a high-tech setting like that, you might also have nanotechnological countermeasures built into a person. So that could also be an interesting idea. So the assassin wasp is just the delivery system. and you can make them as terrifying or as comical as you like, whether they're useful or not useful. And if you're really devious, you can have swarms of these things if you want someone to really be considered to be at risk. But it's really designed as a one-off to, I mean, like a single sniper attack as opposed to a swarm. But you could do a swarm. I mean, that would be like bear swarms. They're kind of absurd, but there's also kind of terrifying. I would like to thank my friend Amy, who inspired this particular idea. But we had a conversation where the concept of assassin wasps came up, but in a humorous jest, and I began to play with the idea. Actually, I think we were discussing nightmares, I think, or something like that, and I think the idea of the assassin wasp came from that discussion of ideas. Everything we talk about is done in satire. It's our natural language, and I quite like the idea of the wasp that comes in the night and can adapt to the colors it's in, stays far enough away so that the beating of its wings don't wake people up, and then can target someone and kill them, and they never even know it's there. And the people that find the victim may take a while to figure out that the person was killed by some means other than natural causes. Sometimes people just die in their sleep. Weird things happen. Humans are strange. So how will you use the Assassin Watch? And will you have a cute, adorable little kitty here to offer to help make your videos like I do? Yes, I do. She's so adorable. Yes, she is. She's a bit of a pain sometimes.